Greetings and welcome to Project Pandora. I am Darkling and this is, of course, Ark Survival Evolved. Today we'll be moving upwards from the foundation work which we completed on the last episode, so stick around and hopefully you enjoy the episode. Okay, so we left the last episode with finishing off the platform with the foundations below. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find the center of this, which I think is about here. Keep trying to find the center of these, it's a bit of a pain. Yep, that looks about right. And I'm going to put some telepads down. Now I'm going to run a test just to make sure the telepads are going to work in the place I'm putting them. So first things first, I'm going to put a few anchor points. Now I will add to this once I've got everything tested, just so I've got some extra connections in the base. So that's all I'm going to do there, and I'm going to grab some large walls which I've already loaded up. 2 large walls should do it. Now it does pay when you're doing builds with things that you haven't used very often. Like for me, I haven't used the tech elevators all that much. It pays to actually run a test with them just to be sure. So I'm just going to try and snap to the top here. There we go. Those are in place, I should be able to just jump up. That one. Oh, of course I didn't bring enough on me. Okay, so 4 should do it. Let's see if we can take a golem up there. So as you can see, the telepad's not huge. Now you won't be able to do this when he's overloaded. Excellent. Can go down. Awesome. Okay, so that all works just fine. Now the other reason I had the golem here was I wanted to make sure the height that I had, and I need to be able to get off the golem and still be able to stand on him. Seems pretty good to me. I do get put through the roof a bit there, so I might just add a little bit extra height there. 1 wall I think should do it. Yeah, that'll do it fine. Okay, so now I can pull these test pieces down. And we can move the golem out of the way. He is carrying a few extra pieces for me, so I won't get rid of him completely. Awesome, I really put that in a terrible place, didn't I? There we go. Okay, so we're going to get away with having just 4 tech elevators going up, which is going to be ideal because we don't want too big a space being used. I'm really loving these tech elevators, I think they're fantastic, but from now we're going to have to work out a few more things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shell around the back of this. Of course I don't have enough on me. Alrighty. I wonder if that's a little bit too small. Yeah, I'm going to have to extend that out a little bit. Which is fine. might give us a better look if we're a little bit further. Okay, so first things first, I need to work out which way around I'm snapping, just to make sure my snap points are lining up properly. Alright, that's flipped over. That's the one I want. There. And this is just to make sure everything snaps into the right places, otherwise some of the alignment's going to be wrong. And if you have to replace large walls, they don't always re-snap at the top, which is something I really need to consider now. Now, is that going to come around any further? I wonder if I should add an extra bit on the front. I think I will. In order to make sure this is safe, oh, I've already got some on me, that's excellent. I'm going to run a line of regular walls as well. Oh, now did I make sure the snap was round the right way? Does look about right. And I'm out of large walls. I'll just grab some more. Fortunately, these things are so heavy that it's hard to carry many on you. And I could do creative mode. It has been released, but I don't want to spoil the fun of actually knowing how much materials I've used, because you'd be surprised how many materials you actually go through on a build like this. It's amazing. Whenever I'm working out the numbers, I'm always doubling or tripling what I think I need, just because I know it's going to be a lot more. How many do I get? 7. Just take a couple extra. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a shell. Now the shell is basically going to be a cosmetic thing to make sure that everything looks nice and pretty, and also has a space to keep your dino, just to make sure you've ended up in the right place, so if you're in a hurry you don't end up running off the side. Okay, from here I'm going to need some more regular walls. I think I might have to bring the quets over here for this part. Now, I was only going to go up one there. Actually, I don't think I necessarily need to, but I might anyway. What I'm thinking about is I'm going to curve the roof up, so I don't actually need to raise the roof to fit the golem in there. Because once I've added the sloped tri-roofs, it shouldn't be a problem. Now I can't remember what settings I have on this dedicated session as to if I need to adjust the stamina and the air recharge. So I'm just going to hop off here and make sure I can snap in the place I want. It does look right. I'm going to use that one to stand on. Placed wrong anyway. Awesome. Pull that one up, replace it. Come on. Snap to the opposite. No, that triggered something. I must have moved the mouse ever so slightly. Actually, no, it seems to be jumping around a little bit there. Come on. Give me that snap. Okay. Not sure why it was jumping around so much. There wasn't that many snap points there. But these things happen. Okay, so as you can see, I managed to snap that one to the opposite. I've still not seen anybody else that's actually used this technique. I'd be interested to see if anyone else has actually picked it up since I started advertising it to people. I've tried explaining it to people many times, but until I actually did the video, nobody really understood quite what I was talking about. It was covered first in the dual snaps video, the tutorial. Such a handy technique when you're doing bigger builds. Okay, that's not giving me a good snap point. Come on. Okay, I'll do it off the quits. No, I won't. I'll fall into the ground. Awesome. I want you to come down here. No, you don't want to. I haven't got time for this. Okay. I wonder if he's stuck. No? Mustn't have been far enough away from him. Strange, he doesn't want to land. Oh, I'd say that the foundations are sunk too close to being in the water, maybe. Strange. Never had that one before. Oh well. That's fine. I won't be using quits down here anyway. No, that didn't snap right. Fine, be like that. Okay. And I wonder if I should... I think I might just complete the front section. That has folded in at a wrong angle. That's the one I wanted. No, there. Now I'm going to add that front piece in just to make sure that... actually that is the wrong section. Need to add some out first. Now I do a lot of placing and then replacing as I go through a build. Depending on what results I'm getting, I'll change the design as I go. Sometimes it's just what I remember works doesn't actually work the way I thought it did. Okay, that's more like it. Or I just plain old make mistakes. I need a bit closer for that one. Oh, now you land. Yeah, that figures. Hit the wrong button and suddenly you work it out. I wonder if the spacebar on this keyboard's running a little bit funny. Okay, so now I'm up here. This will be the top of the little shell, and this will also be the mounting point for the actual structure itself. So from here, now I've got this in place, I will eventually model this and make it look pretty and look a little bit better, but for now I will start the structure for supporting the actual base itself. Now this quits I actually spawned in just to do the building. See, I can't land there again, so it must be that it doesn't mind landing on the tech elevators. Go figure. Yeah, I spawned this one in just to work with what I've got here. I've got plenty of quits as I run another server, but it's a hassle going to finding them. This will never get used for actual regular gameplay. So I'm going to use a few different sizes. Now I should have put some XL glass walls in here, but I think regular large ones should be fine. I'm going to need 8. And give me a little extra stamina as well. I'm not actually sure if I put classic flyers on as a part of the mod set. I don't think I did. And I'm definitely going to need some regular walls just to make sure if any funky snap things happen, I'm covered. So I'm not sure what height this is going to be built at. Now, like I said, there's a lot of things when it comes to base building that I'll have in mind and they just don't work out. So first things first, I'm going to have to build a structure to hold the base. Now, for this particular base, I am going to do a bit of extra support work. Sometimes I'll support it with just a single piece. Why is it not snapping on that side there? Strange. Snaps there, okay. Doesn't snap on that one. Fine, be like that. Snap it in the center. Okay, now normally when I'm adding walls to the top of ceilings, I'll add a wall below and sink it. In this particular case, it doesn't actually matter because I'm not working off the height. Normally I do it just to keep a measure of how high everything's going to be in relation to everything else. So, have another 4. I can place it on the quets. You've got to make use of the air brakes for sure. The thing with working on a flyer is you tend to have things move around a little bit. So if you're not an experienced builder, it makes it a lot harder. Extremely hard. But once you've actually got the swing of how they move around, it's not too bad. Now all these will be invisible. This is literally just a snap point to make sure that the build is going to stay in place. Did I put some into 2? Now I'm guessing this is actually going to be a little bit dark at the moment, so I'm just going to gamma up a little bit. Might gamma up a little bit more actually. I keep forgetting that while I'm recording, for some reason it's a little bit darker than it needs to be on the record. And for those of you that don't use flyers very often, X is the air brake, so you can be flying at full pace and nail the brakes and it'll stop you nice and quick. I'm going to go up another, at least another section I think. Again, this is going to be remote, sorry, not removed, it's going to be made invisible, so it's not going to be a problem how it looks at the moment. Obviously when you start using the base, you'll have to refrain from flying through this section. Obviously you'll hit it, but that's not a problem. Okay, so I think I have to get a distance look. So what we're working out here is actually something that's worth taking the time to do. I'm going to go up another one. See, what I'm doing is, this is going to be the bottom of, like I'll say the tip, the point at the bottom of the base, and if I don't get it high enough off the ground, it's going to look a little bit less cool than it should. Oops, that's the wrong one. Oh, great. Nope. I don't normally use demo gun while I'm riding, so that was a really stupid thing to do. I need to make sure that the section that I'm leaving as regular walls stays regular walls all the way up. I do think that this is going to be enough to get the look that I'm after. Okay, so that is going to be the gap between the shell at the bottom and the base itself, which I think is a reasonable size gap. Now, there'll be a little bit of overlap, but we'll get to that. Okay, yeah, it must be something to do with the fact that this makes water noises when you're running around on it, or the quets won't land on it. Okay, so I'm going to need to offload some of these walls, so I won't be using glass now. Oops, I'm in the wrong locker. I don't like to keep things tidy. Oh, that's the wrong one as well. Okay, no, I do actually need the tries. At least a decent amount of those. I won't need any squares. I am going to need some walls at some point, but I'm not sure it's yet or not. Depends how it builds up. I'm going to need some. Now I'm actually going to I think I'm actually gonna just nip out and add some other parts into my box. I spawned what I thought I needed, and I had an idea the other day I never actually accounted for, so if you give me a moment. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to use some Adobe. Now, I'm going to put a few hundred, oops, I did. I'm going to put a few hundred in the box. I don't think I'm going to need that many, but just in case. Now, my thought was, if I'm going to do this as an upside down looking base, that I should use these as the points. So they look like nice looking terracotta roofs. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna just rearrange my bar a little bit, and I'm going to place in the first lot of get with the wings in the way. That's what we want. Now all I'm going to do here is build just a little pad, and I'm going to come underneath it. Now I'm bouncing around a lot here and I can't really place things properly, so what I'm going to do is just take that problem away. Now I might have to replace those with adobe as well, just to make sure they look right, but I can do that later on, that's not a problem. Now, with any luck, this should actually add quite a nice effect to the overall look of it. Play musical snap points for this, which is always lovely. Now, it's jumping around a lot more than I normally have it happen. I'm wondering if the Quet's wing is actually just bumping into me. So what I might do is grab those out, and I'll show you a trick that I use sometimes. Am I close enough to jump across? Maybe. Okay, so now I'm in place. Oh, okay, that's really not ideal. I really don't need to be dealing with that problem. Okay, I'll come from above. Okay, much better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to snap it just so that I can see the lip along the edge, because you don't have to be underneath to actually get it to snap. Now, I just need to make sure. Alright, that didn't snap to the opposite. Okay. Still not snapping to the opposite. We're placing normally, so it's going to be a problem. Change the angle. Excellent. Sometimes you've got to move around a little bit. It depends on what's going on with the snap and what the problem actually is. It's really hard to diagnose snap issues in Arc. Sometimes if you're too close, sometimes if you're too far away, not looking in the right direction. Okay, so now from underneath, all of the adobe is now pointed, and we can fill in the rest of this. I'm going to need some more. This must be regular. There mustn't be any classic flyers on here because this guy is slow. Oh, you landed on it that time. A picky quits. A bunch of those. So as you can see, my point is nice and high. So once everything's been made invisible, you're going to have a really nice separation there, so it doesn't look like the base is supported at all. I'll be able to make this invisible before long. Now, there's a few factors that I need to consider for how this base is going to proceed. I've got some ideas as to height requirements for the different rooms and things like that, but I'm going to have to play it by ear as I go along, because a lot of the things that, like I said, you have in mind might seem like a really great idea until you actually go to start placing things and it just plain old doesn't work. But you've just got to learn to accept that what you see in your head isn't necessarily what is feasible in the game. I see a lot of people asking in the S Plus forums for large ceilings. I mentioned this before about, I think I did, when it comes to the tech elevators. People want, yeah, I've gone through them already. There's people wanting large tech elevators, but the problem is Ark's snap system isn't really designed for larger pieces. There are things like the door hatch frames that are large, and the what do you call it, the underwater pods, but the snapping on those is a lot different. To actually make a regular ceiling that fits to fits the 2x2 space, it's a lot more problematic for the model. It seems like a really easy thing for us. It's like what I was saying before about, you know, what we see as being, you know, possible isn't necessarily what translates into reality. Now, I might, being this is the central spire, or it's not really a spire, it's a reverse spire, I might go out another one. Probably should have brought much more of the roofs. Okay, it's getting to be a nice space. Yeah, definitely one, maybe even two. I want this nice and large. Now I will be using some of this space in here. This will be a basement. Okay, thank you for those snaps. I think I'm going to have to load the quits up. I don't want to have to make as many trips. Once I've actually got the base up to the point where the storage facilities are made, I'll probably move all the materials from the boxes down here up there. That way I'm not travelling backwards and forwards so much. How many can I carry? And this might be one of those episodes where you don't see quite as much progress as we did with the foundation work. Foundation work's actually quite a simple process to lay out, but when it comes to doing some of the work like this, where it's still all up in the air, quite literally in this case, and a little bit more thought needs to go into it. Okay. Now I'm snapping directly to itself. Now normally when I'm building something like this I wouldn't snap these quite like I'm doing them. I would actually do a scaffold to make sure that the heights were correct. Because one of the problems with using these is they aren't perfect. So sometimes you end up with cracks. It's actually looking pretty good. There's a little bit of a crack there. So yeah, you do have a few issues like that. But I'm gonna have to go out a little bit more, I think. So if I do a room off this, it's going to be stepped inwards. So it'll be off this one to start with. So it's only 3 out from the center. Well, that's not too bad. Not too bad. I'll have a look at it from a distance and see what size we're working with. I'm thinking I may do another one. Although that does look pretty decent. No, I'm going to go add another one. Yeah, definitely another one. Because I want the reason I need extra space on these is when I build the tower, because I'm going to step this back in, so because I'm going to create a ledge. Yeah, because most ceilings, especially this kind of tower, this is going to be an inverted tower, of course, but this kind of tower, you'd step the ceiling outwards, or in this case, inwards, because we're working obviously the other way up. Okay, see where I'm placing that. Hopefully it was in the right place. One of those overlaid, but I'm not going to risk pulling them apart. Come on. Now, one of the things you've got to remember is if you pull something out of one of these at the bottom, halfway up, you will have to rebuild. You have to pull out the ones above it and re-add them in, because you can only build upwards with the tri-sloped roofs. It's a little bit of a pain. Man, I did not bring enough still. It's a little bit of a pain, but you do get used to it. It's just a matter of being a little bit more careful with what you're doing. Now, I will do a little bit of scaffold in here to get my initial floor height. I will be building below that initial floor height for the basement, but start with... Oh, it's decided it wanted to land, that's fine. I'm going to need to pick you up anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to need at least 20 more. How many more on you? Oh yeah, no movement speed boost, definitely no classic flyers, I should have realised that. Classic flyers is great, but I've got a lot of quetzes in storage that don't use, that are pre-nerf, and I don't want to add classic flyers to my normal load list, just in case something goes wrong. Because when you're switching map to map, you don't have the option of running different mod sets. You'd have to manually change it every time you change map, and sometimes you lose track of what mod is on what map, so I tend to leave all the maps I have on single player running the same particular mod set. And I don't really want to add the classic flyers because I don't want my vanilla flyers to be altered at all in case I do want to play on a regular server. I don't have to worry about my stats being kind of funny. What's going on there? Oh, is that where the extra piece went? Okay. That makes more sense. I thought I somehow overlaid. Okay, must have done it again. It's really funny, I got a stopwatch and everything ready to time how long this video was going to be to make sure I didn't go over too long a time, and of course in the process of actually doing that I completely spaced out and forgot to actually start it. Okay, so I'm going to move you out. So I may end up cutting it up a little bit. We'll see. I don't really need a full lot here. I just need to get some height. How many rows we got? 1, 2. I'm going to go up 3, so I don't need that one. Go out from that to the edge. Is that the wrong one? It's fine. I swear I know what I'm doing. There's times when I'm doing this that everything's working fine, and then other times I wonder, why am I doing this? Do I even know how to play this game at all? I spent so long playing this game, I've forgotten so much about it. A lot of the vanilla tricks that I learnt, I can't even remember any of them. There's methods for rotating a foundation around 45 degrees. Actually, I put that at the wrong level. Okay, that's fine. I'll go and grab some more dry roofs while I'm at it. Sorry, dry ceilings. I always call them the wrong things. I don't know why. Okay. So I'm gonna need some ceilings. And I can drop off the adobe ones. I've still got those on me. Tick elevators I don't really need on me either. I've really got to remember to drop some of this stuff off me. What on earth is... oh, right. And those ones I busted. Okay. And back to ceilings. Can I take a whole stack? Yes. Awesome, that should be enough for this. Gamma back down, it went incredibly high after that. So there are tricks that you can use to create a floating platform, like with the underwater pods. As cool as they are, for some structures it can be better just to run fake foundations. Well, I say fake, they're still connected. The glass makes... whoops. Oh, no, I didn't do that, did I? Okay, so I said before, you can't start from the top and go down. You have to come from the bottom. Come on, snap into the place. There we go. Okay, so that was a nice easy one. Sometimes I have more problems with them. Now, for some reason I decided when I did the first run of these ceilings, that I was going to have a piece of this sticking out. But that wasn't what I planned. I'm just going to take it up another one. It's going to give me a lot more space. Too heavy. Okay, of course I am. Because the basement, as I call it, is going to have things in it like beer barrels and whatnot, so it's not stuff that I'm going to be accessing very often, but I still want plenty of usable space. And that lines up quite nicely. Now I'm just going to K mode and just check. Oh, of course I can't do it like that. At the very edge. Yeah, I can live with that. Don't have any gaps underneath, do I? Nope. Choice. Okay, so I'm just going to fill this space in. That should be a nice easy project. Now, like I've said before, I'm going to be doing this build in its entirety. On future recorded builds I may cut for the easier parts, but I've had a lot of people wanting to know the process that goes on while building. And if I cut too much, then you miss me umming and ahhing over certain aspects of the build that I think are the actual important parts that people are, the bits that people are wanting to see. I could cut out the running backwards and forwards part, but this actually gives an idea, if you've saved up the materials to do a build like this, how long you could it would actually take to feasibly build what I'm building. I have to move the quits out of there, otherwise he's going to get stuck. It's fine, I think I'm going to need to go and get more materials anyway. And the load should do it. I'm not even going to bother trying to land you. Can I move? Nope. A little bit too much. Oh. Well, that figures I had more in my inventory. Of course I did. Yeah, figures. Looks like I've got a bit sticking out the side there. I must have had another misplace. Man, this base is going to look huge. Look awesome. I've already got an idea in mind as to how it's going to actually look. I've done this enough times now that some of the things that I build, I've got a better understanding of the actual end result. It's amazing though how many times you do a build and it doesn't end up like what you see in your head doesn't line up with what actually happens. Like it looks, I've done a few ideas. I'm working on a Wyvern trap idea at the moment. I've already released a Wyvern trap video, but I've got another video in mind for something that's a little bit more interesting. But the angles that, when I was thinking about it, I actually fell asleep thinking about it and dreamt about it all night. And the angles that looked completely plausible in my head were nowhere near plausible. Okay, so From here, I'm going to place my outer wall. Now, I could do this straight away with XL or large walls, but I want to be able to make some changes to this level, because this outer part I've now got around the outside, I can thus make into a deck. I'll run some glass half walls around the outside, and I'll make them mostly transparent. It won't change the overall look of everything. Right now, okay. Come on, Flyboy, speed up. And use the extra ceilings I've got too. Let's take a stack. Oops, back there. It doesn't look like we made a huge amount of progress today. Getting just the stem built and the initial, I want to call it a ceiling, the initial roof, the initial inverted tower. It doesn't look like there's a huge amount of progress, but it's actually quite a lot. These are the fiddlier bits that, once they're done, the rest of the build should, in theory, be a little bit easier. Okay, so I've done the first run around the top. I'm going to leave a gap just to make sure I can get in and out. And I think I'm going to call it at that for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It is a little bit different than I think most people build, so hopefully you're finding it interesting. Remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see the rest of the build, which with any luck I will have finished before I start posting it. So hopefully I'll see you for the rest of the build. Take care and enjoy your building.